What if you deleted the desktop entirely? No file explorer. No taskbar. No app icons. Just an AI that is the operating system. That's exactly what Pneuma is, and it shipped last week on Hacker News. Most people building AI tools are adding AI on top of Windows or Mac OS. A copilot here, and autocomplete there. Pneuma went the other direction. Someone looked at the entire concept of a graphical OS and said, this layer shouldn't exist anymore. The AI should replace it. So what does that actually look like? You boot up Pneuma and there's no desktop. No wallpaper. No dock. What you get is an interface that responds to natural language. You want to open a document, you describe what you're looking for. You want to run a process, you tell it what outcome you want. The system figures out how to do it. This is not a chatbot sitting on top of Linux. Pneuma is architected so that the AI is the primary interaction layer. Every user action flows through an AI model first. There's no parallel traditional UI underneath you can fall back on. The practical demo results are genuinely interesting. File navigation by description actually works. You can ask for files related to a project you were working on last Tuesday, and it pulls relevant context. Task management through conversation feels more natural than anyone would expect. Setting up workflows by talking through them, iteratively, in plain language, that part is surprisingly smooth. But here's the thing. The gap between impressive demo and daily driver is enormous right now. Pneuma does not support the software ecosystem you live in. There's no Chrome, no Spotify, no Slack running inside it. If your work depends on specific applications, which is almost everyone, this is not a replacement for your current machine. Not yet. Not even close. Precision tasks are also a problem. The AI interface introduces ambiguity by design. Traditional OS interfaces are deterministic. You click a button, one thing happens. In Pneuma, if your instruction is slightly off, the system interprets. Sometimes that interpretation is wrong. For professional workflows where errors are expensive, that unpredictability is a serious limitation. Performance overhead is real. Running a language model as your primary OS interaction layer costs compute. On modest hardware, the lag between intent and action is noticeable. This is not running on a Raspberry Pi. And then there's the trust problem. When your operating system is an AI model, what happens when it hallucinates? A chatbot giving you a wrong restaurant recommendation is annoying. An OS making a wrong decision about your file system is a different category of problem entirely. What surprised me was how much of this is already solved at the demo level. The underlying ideas are solid. The architecture is coherent. So where does this actually go? The near-term realistic future for Pneuma is not replacing Windows for general users. It's specialized deployments. Kiosk environments where the natural language interface reduces training time. Accessibility use cases where traditional OS navigation is genuinely difficult for users. Enterprise workflows that are repetitive and well-defined enough to describe in plain language. There's also a credible path toward hybrid integration. Pneuma as a shell layer that sits above a traditional OS, handling routing and intent parsing while conventional apps run underneath. That would sidestep the compatibility problem without abandoning the core idea. Longer term, if model inference gets fast enough and cheap enough to run locally at near zero latency, the performance argument against AI-native OS interfaces collapses. That day is closer than most people think. So why does Pneuma exist? Because the current OS model is 70 years old. We still navigate computers using metaphors from the 1970s. Desktops. Files. Folders. Trash cans. Every generation of interface has reduced the gap between human intent and machine execution. Command line to GUI was one jump. GUI to touch was another. AI native interfaces are the next logical step. The person who built Pneuma is not claiming it's ready. They're building the argument that the question is valid. Should the OS still look like this? Or should the computing layer finally understand what you actually want? Pneuma right now is a proof of concept with real ambition. It wins in narrow demos. It loses against the weight of the existing software ecosystem. It lives in a niche that is going to get significantly larger. If you want to follow where this goes, the project is at pneuma.computer. Next episode, we're looking at a different kind of AI native tool, one that's already in production and handling real workloads. Subscribe so you don't miss it.